Crash Team Rumble could make a comeback with these 3 extremely difficult steps. Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up, guys? Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new Crash Team Rumble video. By the way, I just want to quickly say, if you hear Bam Bam over here, it's our brand new 3D printer. He's going to town on some new projects. We've been having a lot of fun with a whole bunch of stuff that it's been making. We've been making stuff like Kirby. We even made a little bit of a Crash Bust, and even bigger pieces like the timepiece from A Hat in Time. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. Expect maybe some projects on the channel relatively soon. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, that's right, Crash Team Rumble. So let me get started with this and just lay this foundation right away. Crash Team Rumble is basically finished with its content, as in no more content is being released. That's it. That's all. And the likely reason, in my opinion, when it comes to all of this is the fact that Toys for Bob has gone indie. Now, because Toys for Bob going indie, it likely means that Toys for Bob is no longer going to handle Crash Team Rumble, especially since a lot of Crash Team Rumble servers is backed by the absolutely terrible Activision account, along with all the servers that it used originally. So in my opinion, I think there's a lot of third-party fan dangling that would need to be done in order for Toys for Bob to be able to continue developing Crash Team Rumble, and also them having their workforce slashed in half kind of makes it so that they can't make their next game while also supporting Crash Team Rumble. So the likelihood is that Toys for Bob is completely finished with Crash Team Rumble and will not return. There is a chance, though, that Crash Team Rumble could continue. It is not likely, but this is the most likely scenario in terms of Crash Team Rumble making a return. Now, please, I gotta stress, do not put your 100% faith into what I'm about to say. This is just literally the best case scenario, or the most plausible scenario, that Crash Team Rumble makes a comeback. Don't start huffing the hopium and copium at the same time, thinking that this game is 100% going to come back. I'm not saying that. Let me make that clear. What I'm saying is that if this game does make some kind of comeback, this is the most likely scenario according to the research in my eyes. Now, even though I just said that the game is no longer getting any more new content, game support is still going, as the server is still up, it's still accessible, and every weekend there is now a new event, which is an event that was recycled from the past that gives you experience. There is also a brand new 500 tier battle pass that they added that has 104 brand new items and a whole bunch of other items from a whole bunch of other events that you can catch up on and level up. However, we did some quick math on stream, and we found that it would take upwards to 400 hours of gameplay to be able to completely fill this 500 tier battle pass. So when you include the fact that the servers are still going, and when you include the fact that they're still recycling weekend events, and when you include the fact that it would take about 400 hours, there is a precedent to say that this game could run on autopilot for a very, very long time. But why is that necessarily important? Well, here's the thing. With Xbox now owning Activision and them planning on bringing Activision Blizzard titles to Game Pass, this means that Crash Team Rumble can easily be transferred to Game Pass. And that, my friends, is the very first step on this difficult 3-step journey to get Crash Team Rumble to make some kind of comeback. The best part is that the game already has roots in being set up for free to play. What that means is that when it goes to Game Pass, it is already hitting a market where that is natural and where it could naturally thrive, and being in a free-to-play-esque environment. Now, that's step 1. There is now step 2. Step 2 is that if and when it goes to Game Pass, there has to be a massive surge of brand new players, as in people coming from far and wide to finally try the game, and the amount of players that come online and play surges like crazy. A kind of a sidestep, and which would be nice, is that if Crash Team Rumble came to the monthly free pass over at PlayStation Plus, so that even PlayStation users, even if for a limited time, could get access to this game, kind of like how Fall Guys did it when they launched, so that both consoles in both families can have a giant surge of players. But just having a giant surge of players is not enough. This surge of players have to play the game consistently. So essentially the surge happens, and then a giant chunk of that surge stays and continues to play the game because they actually do enjoy it. And this might also in turn bring back some older players who maybe couldn't get into lobbies to come back and play the game again, because there's now a whole bunch of new blood playing the game and staying playing the game. After that surge and continue playing, people have to be vocal on social media. There has to be people saying how much fun they're having. There has to be a bunch of people playing. There has to be maybe bigger streamers trying the game out. There has to be a big social outcry with a constant tag of, man, I wish this game would continue to be supported. So you have the number of players that are playing the game increasing, and then you have the public outcry for more people to play the game and more people to try the game now that it's free to play, and more people wanting to play the game because it is genuinely fun. And now we get to step 3, finding a brand new team. Again, like I mentioned at the start of this video, and it is kind of sucky, there's one caveat, and that is the fact that Toys for Bob will not likely be the team behind it. They might consult with the new team that gets behind it, but they won't be the main team behind its development. Now, Xbox would either have to find someone from their own internal teams or a third party to take over development. Now, if Xbox were to look internally, in my opinion, the only team that I think could handle taking over Crash Team Rumble would be Beanox, as they literally made and developed Crash Team Racing in the past, which was an absolute hit, and they are familiar, especially with Crash Bandicoot, because of the fact that they helped with Crash 4 and they remastered CTR. So if Beanox wanted to take the challenge, they could pick up where Toys for Bob left off. However, that might not be happening, and Xbox may have to look to a third party, as in a company that's not owned by Xbox. Now, time out, you might be saying, Canadian Guy, you are going on a wild tangent. Has this ever happened before? I mean, who would have an online game taken over by a third party after the initial developer stopped developing the game? I mean, that's crazy. That's never happened, right? Well, actually it has. Back in 2013, when the Xbox One launched, there was a game that came out that is a gigantic IP, especially back in the day, Killer Instinct, made in 2013. However, though it was an IP developed and originally made by Rare, it actually was made by a different company, a third-party company, Double Helix Games. Additionally, after developing the main game, they actually went and developed Season 1 for its online play. However, the second and third season of this game was not handled by Double Helix. It was handled by a completely different company, and it too was a third party that stepped in to finish Seasons 2 and 3. More on them in a bit. Okay, we've set precedent that this is possible, but still, who would take over? Is there a third party that could even possibly take the reins of Rumble? Who could it be? Well, I did a bunch of research, and not only did I find a company who could take over as a third party to continue Crash Team Rumble, I found a company who has done this in the past. Yes, this is a company that stepped in and took over another game's live service events. Not only that, this company has a close working relationship with both Activision, Blizzard, and more importantly, Microsoft, and wildly has worked with Toys for Bob in the past, and has worked on a Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon title, And once again, this is a third-party developer. This company is a perfect hand glove that could take over for Crash Team Rumble. But who could it be? Well, let's go back to that Killer Instinct game. Remember how I said that there was a company that stepped in and took over? Well, that company was Iron Galaxy. Iron Galaxy is a third-party company that has a close working relationship with Activision, as they have ported both Crash Insane and Spyro Reignited to the PC. Of course, Killer Instincts being a first-party IP for Xbox, originally developed by Rare, and them stepping in to take over after Double Helix, kind of shows that they also have a working relationship with Microsoft as well. So Killer Instinct in 2013 having live events that was developed by a third party, then the second and third season being developed by a completely different third party, shows and gives precedent that it is possible that a third party can step in and work on a title that was already established when it comes to live events and online play. Of course, this requires, as part of step 3, for Iron Galaxy to actually want to take over. This isn't something that just is thrown at them or offered to them. They have to be able to have a desire and a want to step in and take off where Toys for Bob left. And that, again, is a difficult ask. So let's go over the 3 extremely difficult steps in order for Crash Team Rumble to make a comeback, in my opinion, in the most likely scenario. Step 1, the game has to go to Game Pass and potentially even PS Network as well in a free-to-play fashion. Step 2, there has to be a giant flood of new players that are interested and want to continue playing the game even after the initial surge and are vocal on social media. And step 3, it would likely have to be an internal company or a third-party company that would be interested in taking over, and they would have to pick up where Toys for Bob left off. Iron Galaxy is a great example of a company that could take over, but again, that is just an example. Overall, the likelihood is, sadly, Crash Team Rumble is done, and that is something that I am coming to terms with and still coming to terms with. But it coming back is not impossible. It's not likely, but it's not impossible. This video is, again, to quickly explain that there is a chance for it to come back and that this is the best case scenario, though it is going to be extremely difficult. So don't hang your hopes on it. But I don't just talk about Crash Team Rumble, I talk about Crash Bandicoot in general, Spyro the Dragon, and many other classic platformers. So if you're into that, make sure to subscribe to stay tuned for all news and updates. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye!